Welcome, Patriots, to Patriot News Broadcasting. God bless ya. It's Thursday. The week is almost over. Yeah, not quite, right? Doesn't quite work that way. Looks like we got started a little bit, I want to say early, but actually we're quite a bit late tonight. I had some things to look into, really. I wanted to sort of look deeper into the Charlie Kirk stuff, ask questions to certain people and things like that. And it's a fascinating situation because at the depth of it, you have this deep thought that it very well might be this special operation or something, and you know that you're never going to know whether that's the truth or not. And in a way, you know that we have to push forward as a nation, and we can pick these things apart so often, but maybe the comms were there and so easy to see because they didn't want us to pick it apart, because they really want us to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy, because they need you and people like you to become the Charlie Kirks of your own communities. That's what it's all about. And not even that. I'm not saying to go out and preach to colleges, stuff like that. I'm just saying it's time to get involved in your own area. There's only so much we can do here online. We can go over stuff over and over again and learn. But at the end of the day, it's really the depth of it. So, I don't know. It's a weird situation. I don't know where I stand, but I know that I care about the country and the country getting better, and I don't want to see things go into a nosedive when that's not where we should be going with things. Anyway, let's get started. There's a ton of news today, just a ton of news, and half of it barely even made the news. Warning to people. People are saying, these little attacks you're seeing, that it's despite what you think of it, it is going to get worse. The protests, the attacks, the cities, the big cities, everybody's telling you to expect it, that powerful events are ahead. And so no matter where you think it's coming from, you need to be ready. But we're doing good things over here on the media side. Colbert canceled, Acosta canceled, Reed canceled, Lemon canceled, Cuomo, Kimmel. Bye-bye. I heard some bad things about Jimmy Kimmel out of the people in that group. Well, this story I just had to look at. It's probably maybe the least political story that I have of the day, but it did happen at the National Mall while delivering a race car painted by Andy Warhol. A man was crushed.
With a Fox 5 News alert out of the district tonight, a man crushed and killed by a car on the National Mall.
Yeah, it appears that this incident is connected to a new outdoor car exhibit near the Washington Monument. Fox 5's Sharon Ujay joins us live from the scene. The latest, Sharon.
Angie, Kenneth, just a tragic situation. I am standing on the National Mall near Jefferson and 14th Street as authorities are investigating this, and MPD says this appears to be an accident. Investigators say just before 3 this afternoon, a worker who was loading a vehicle onto this trailer was killed, somehow getting pinned underneath this car. U.S. Park Police and D.C. Fire and EMS responding, attempting life-saving efforts, but sadly that man did not make it out alive. Now, details...
Looks like he might have gotten pinned under the trailer instead. I don't know. It's, somebody failed to do their job.
Are very limited at this hour, but what we do know is that the vehicle involved appears to be a 1979 BMW M1 painted by Andy Warhol that was set to be on display on the mall starting today. This is part of the Hagerty Drivers Foundation annual Cars at the Capitol event. You see that vehicle right there. You see the glass case that is next to it.
Not the first time a car has crushed somebody to death, but damn, tragic, very tragic. If you happen to remember the teen, well, I guess he's actually not a teen, college student, Mahmoud Khalil from Columbia University, who created a lot of stir with getting deported. He's being ordered to be deported now.
Next story we've been following since his arrest by ICE agents on March 8th. We have an update. An immigration judge is ordering the deportation of former Columbia graduate student Mahmoud Khalil.
All right, lawyers for the pro-Palestinian protesters say they will appeal this decision, but it seems like a real possibility. Good day's Haley Fixler. She's here now with all these details. Haley, what's going on?
Good morning, Dan. Tajani. Well, these court documents were just filed yesterday. The federal immigration judge says that Khalil hid information on his U.S. green card application, and she's ordering him to be sent back to Algeria or Syria. So let's break this all down. The Louisiana judge says that Khalil...
Algeria, Syria, take your pick. You lie on your documents, not going to help your case. Trump's getting sued again, this time from California. University students and faculty sued Trump administration over University of California funding cuts. Oh, wow.
Labor unions across the University of California system are suing the Trump administration, claiming the president is illegally withholding federal funding. The unions rallied in San Francisco today.
KCRA 3's Ryan Curry joining us live. He's in San Francisco right now. So, Ryan, you had a chance to talk with some union leaders, and what are they hoping to get from this lawsuit?
Yeah, good evening. What they want is they want the president and the administration to stop the threats of withholding millions and millions of federal funding. They claim the Trump administration is trying to control free speech on college campuses, and by threatening to withhold millions and millions of funding for these colleges, well, union leaders say that is illegal. Here in San Francisco,
that's become a big topic since Charlie Kirk, the hate speech and First Amendment conversation. Where do you draw a line, you know? And the problem is, I don't even know if we have a proper definition of hate speech. Abusive or threatening speech or writing that expresses prejudice on the basis of ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or similar grounds. What do you guys think about that? Free speech. Does hate speech breach free speech, or should it be okay? Should you be allowed to call a person whatever names you want, even if it's as derogatory as possible? Only you guys can decide. Pam Bondi, though, she's had to walk back her hate speech comments, apparently. Apparently it's creating a bit of a stir as well.
Attorney General Pam Bondi is working to walk back now some of her statements about prosecuting hate speech. The AG is now saying that the department will only go after and prosecute statements that incite violence, though that important element was not how she first presented it, saying on a podcast that DOJ would go after anyone for hate speech, could go after anyone for hate speech. Comments that the Wall Street Journal editorial board is taking on this morning.
She messed up there because I only go after comments that incite violence. Well, what does that entail? You know, you could say I slept with your wife, and that's not crossing the line, but it might incite violence for sure. You know, somebody's gonna push on stuff like that. So you got to be very specific in the way you word these things. And how America defines hate speech is, you know, still a topic of debate, even now. So, of course, you've seen by now Jimmy Kimmel, the has been asked to get off the air, basically. But is it over the Trump and Charlie Kirk stuff? I don't know. There's differing opinions. The FCC chairman is threatening immediate action against Jimmy Kimmel, ABC, and Disney for deliberately misleading the public by claiming Charlie Kirk's assassin was a MAGA conservative. Chairman Brendan Carr calls Kimmel's malicious lies are truly sick and says they should result in Kimmel's immediate suspension and may lead to ABC losing its broadcast license. So that right there may be enough motivation for ABC to fire him. It's a very, very serious issue for Disney. You see, they're all tied in one. When you work for one, you work for the other. Let's see exactly what he said.
The ABC television network is facing backlash over its decision to indefinitely suspend late-night host Jimmy Kimmel. The show was pulled off the air over controversial comments he made earlier this week about the suspect accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Some critics say the network is censoring free speech. KTLA's Aaron Myers live now in Hollywood with the details. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning. Just as you said, the suspension stems from comments that Jimmy Kimmel made on his show about the suspect accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Now, this happened on Kimmel's show on Monday, and here's what he said.
Some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
Jimmy Kimmel has yet to comment on the suspension, but was seen leaving his Hollywood theater yesterday. This comes after the FCC said the agency...
It's a stupid statement. Just because they're there, they're fans of... There was lots of people protesting Charlie Kirk being on campus. These people are stupid. Or am I allowed to say that? Moving forward, Sinclair Broadcast Group, which owns ABC station, I believe. God, I don't even know how that works. The station's largest ABC affiliate group objects to recent comments made by Mr. Kimmel concerning the assassination of Charlie Kirk. ABC was getting a ton of pressure just from what he did. This is what Trump had to say about it.
Vice President Vance said that free speech is under attack in the UK. Do you agree with him? And Prime Minister, we saw the dismissal of a very well-known chat show host in America last night, Mr. Kimmel. Is free speech more under attack in Britain or America?
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
Fired for lack of talent, huh? I'm not so sure it's limited to that, but you never know. Speaking of not having any talent, Governor Pritzker's pretending like he has some talent right now because of all the stuff from Trump and, cracking down on violence. He's kind of got to pretend like, oh, now I really got to pretend like I'm doing something. So he's picking at these hemp laws.
You're right. As you know, I have advocated for new laws in the state of Illinois that would restrict the distribution of hemp-infused and THC-infused from hemp, whether it's drinks or gummies or candies. And what we've got to do is get a handle on this. The legislature was unwilling to do it. And so we're now in continuing conversations with the advocates for the hemp industry. But they've got to understand people are getting sick.
So as long as you're smoking your weed in Illinois, it's okay. That's bad parenting, It's just like having a gun and leaving it sit out. Where do you, at some point, draw a line and say, adults are allowed to have this, and if you let your kid get to it, it's your own freaking fault, A Grey's Anatomy star was killed in a terrible crash in Los Angeles, and not much has been released about this.
Actor and celebrity photographer Brad Everett Young has died. His publicist confirms to NBC News that Young, known for his roles on Grey's Anatomy and Boy Meets World, died following a car crash in Los Angeles. He was 46 years old. In a statement, his rep telling NBC News Brad was a fixture at Hollywood events, red carpets, premieres, galas, industry parties, and charity functions. He had an eye that could capture both the glitz of celebrity and the quiet humanity behind the flash. The statement continues to see him working, greeting subjects, arranging light, or simply moving through the crowd with camera in hand was to witness someone who belonged there.
I gotta say, I'm not really familiar with them, but it was just weird. They didn't have much details on the crash for a crash being in Hollywood. That was about the only video I could find on it, so we'll look again later, see what's coming out. It's been a hell of a news day. Israel is preparing to bomb Lebanon, aiming for Hezbollah targets as it warns citizens to flee in the latest escalation. It's just trying to throw everything out there at once, getting desperate.
Well, turning to some breaking news at the moment, it is the Israeli armed forces once again making headlines here. And what it really is that they have begun bombing positions in southern Lebanon shortly after issuing forced evacuation orders for residents there. As plumes of smoke can be seen over homes, Lebanon's prime minister is calling for maximum pressure on Israel to stop its attacks. Israel has kept up its strikes on southern Lebanon despite a ceasefire which was signed in November. Zaina Khadr joins us live from Beirut. And Zaina,
it's interesting timing, in my opinion. I don't know, but, you know, Netanyahu never fails to make himself look silly. He decided to respond to all this stuff about people saying Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's death. You know, he had made a statement at one point. This is a new statement.
Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, said that the bigger the lie, the faster it will spread. Well, somebody has fabricated a monstrous big lie that Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's horrific murder. This is insane. It is false. It is outrageous. Charlie Kirk was a giant, a once-in-a-century talent who defended freedom, defended America, defended our common Judeo-Christian civilization. Charlie loved Israel. He loved the Jewish people. He told me so in a letter that he sent me just a few months ago. One of my greatest joys as a Christian, he said, is advocating for Israel and forming alliances with Jews to protect Judeo-Christian civilization. He encouraged me to make the case directly to the American people about how vital Israel is to U.S. national security. He told me, the Holy Land is so important to my life, it pains me to see support for Israel slip away. Now, if Charlie disagreed with a policy of mine or a decision here and there, not only did I not mind, I welcomed it. This is the essence of Charlie. This is the essence of a free country. It's exactly what Charlie stood for. And I knew that his suggestions always came from the heart, from his love for Israel and from his love for the Jewish people.
I got to say, so far, in my own investigations and looking and paying attention, I haven't seen anything that directly connects Israel to this stuff, other than he was not very happy with Israel and what they were doing in Gaza, and that was, you know, his opinion. I know he was worried about having that opinion, for sure. People say Netanyahu's cornered, that he's being implicated in Charlie's assassination. He's pushing the IDF past the breaking point, isolated from the allies. He struck important allies of his nominal ally. Dave Smith interview is out. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, he's looking bad. He's probably feeling cornered. All right. And between Trump and Keir Starmer, Trump does not agree with the UK recognizing a Palestinian state. And again, the U.S. is one of just a small handful of countries that feel this way.
Mr. President, the UK is expected to recognise a Palestinian state in the coming days as the killing in Gaza continues. It often seems that you're the only person that Israel will listen to. What more can you say to them to tell them to stop? And why is the UK's position on a Palestinian state, in your view, wrong?
We have to remember October 7th, one of the worst, most violent days in the history of the world, not just there, the history of the world. And I got to see the tapes, and I wish I didn't see them, actually, but I got to see them. And I want an end. I want the hostages released, and I think it's going to be okay. But it has been a brutal period of time. But this has been going on for a long time. This is not something that's over the last year, 2 years. But this has been for decades and decades. But we want it to end. We have to have the hostages back immediately. That's what the people of Israel want. They want them back. And we want the fighting to stop. And it's going to stop. But a lot of bad things. You know, Hamas said that they're going to put the hostages up as bait. They're going to put the hostages in front of any attack. And that's pretty brutal. We haven't heard that one in a long time. So we have to remember that. So I have a disagreement with the Prime Minister on that score. Okay? One of our few disagreements, actually.
Well, there's nobody really ready yet to lead a Palestinian state. You know, there's nothing to, no structure at this point. All right. Moving forward, Trump is asking the Supreme Court for an emergency order to remove Lisa Cook from the Fed board. He's been at this one a while.
Well, in other news, President Donald Trump is taking his fight to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook all the way to the Supreme Court. He's asking the High Court to clear the way to remove her from the board entirely, which would change the face and the voting makeup of that board. Of course, this comes one day after the Fed cut interest rates for the first time in, 9 months? Mr. Trump says he fired Cook on the grounds that she committed mortgage fraud. Well, Cook fired back, denying this, and says the president doesn't have the authority to fire her. So let's bring in CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady, who broke that news for us in the last hour on CBS News 24/7. What could that mean for the courts, for the Federal Reserve Board, and for ultimately the decision going forward?
So this was an unexpected next step because, in fact, the appeals court, which was sort of the last step in the legal process before it would go to the Supreme Court, just hours before the Federal Reserve Board started meeting, said, hey, Lisa Cook can continue in her position. So she was one of the folks in the room when all of that was happening this week. So the Supreme Court will still have to take up that case, but
yeah, it made it to the Supreme Court, and we knew it was headed that direction. So we will see what they say. There's a lot of these cases not making the news. Sometimes, like I said, it's not what you see, it's what you don't see on the news. Yeah, I've got some more Charlie Kirk stuff we'll look at in a bit. I've got posts and things. The federal court struck down Alabama County Commission map as unconstitutional, and I believe this was Jefferson County.
A federal judge has now ruled the Jefferson County Commission's plan for redistricting of the county as unconstitutional. The judge says it violates the 14th Amendment, protecting against racial gerrymandering, and forbids the county from using it. ABC 3340's Austin Pratt has the details of that ruling. Now, Austin, we know you spoke with both sides, but what led the judge to this decision?
Muriel, it was a 4-day bench trial examining the percentage of black voters in neighborhoods that were moved into districts 1 and 2. After reviewing the evidence, the judge made a decision.
What this says to us is that there's still discrimination in the redistricting that take place. There's voter suppression. There's attempts to limit the impact of African.
They can paint it how they want. It's not racism. It's not trying to prevent people from voting. It's trying to make your votes actually amount to something. Every fake vote, every fraudulent vote, every screw up, everything, it has an impact on your vote. Muslim mayor of Dearborn, Michigan targets Christian minister attacking pro-terror signs, if that's what you want to call it.
Outrage over comments at a city council meeting in Dearborn, Michigan. The Muslim mayor telling a Christian minister he was, quote, not welcome in the city after the minister expressed concern about a new street sign honoring a controversial pro-Palestine supporter of Hamas and Hezbollah terror groups. Watch.
He talks about how the blood of the martyrs, I'm quoting, irrigates the land of Palestine. And then further quotes,
Okay, now I get it. Different story. People are going to get pushed to the limit. And that's pretty revealing right there when you've got people that have come in as immigrants telling people that have lived there their whole lives they should leave. It's just not going to happen. There's not going to be Sharia law here. There's not going to, and it doesn't matter if it's a city of only Muslims. It's just not going to happen. The United States has issued security alerts for Americans that are in France at the moment due to the ramping up of these protests.
Now, France has come to a standstill and workers are out on the streets. Anger is crystallizing against President Macron. A nationwide strike against his budget policy is being held across France. There was heavy police presence that was witnessed in the streets of Paris, where the police with shields and anti-riot gear was trying to maintain order.
It's been happening for a while, but I will tell you what's really interesting coming out of France is that Brigitte Macron says she's going to prove to the world that she is indeed a woman. She's going to present scientific and photographic evidence.
Brigitte Macron is planning to present proof she's a woman after losing a shock lawsuit in France over bizarre gender rumors. The First Lady and her husband, President Emmanuel Macron, are now preparing to submit scientific and photographic evidence in a U.S. defamation case against American right-wing influencer Candace Owens. Owens, who has millions of followers, has repeatedly claimed that Mrs. Macron, aged 70, was born a male. In March, she vowed to wage her entire professional reputation on it, even alleging that Brigitte is in fact her brother, Jean-Michel Trogneux.
The question is, who's going to look at the picture, you know? Are they just going to be like, oh, we got a picture, we took it, it's ours? Or is this going to be like this where, I mean, like, I'm trying to picture this here. You're going to hand it to Candace herself and be like, here, this is a picture. This is definitely my naked body in this picture. So I don't know how they plan to do that to make it work how they're intending for it to work, but yeah, she wants to prove to the world that she is indeed a woman, totally a man, in my opinion. I don't know. So, all right, let's move on from that horrifying story. A military helicopter crashed near Washington military base, and last I knew there were 4 soldiers still missing.
Breaking this morning, JBLM confirming one of its helicopters went down overnight.
Just how many people were on board and their condition is not known yet. The crash happened west of Olympia in the Summit Lake area. Como Theron is live in Thurston County with what we know right now. Theron?
Yeah, we're on the northeast side of Summit Lake, and you can see we are being kept at quite a distance. Emergency crews have been responding through the night up that forest road you see there behind that locked gate. Again, this is as close as we're allowed to get to that crash scene. JBLM, though, confirming this morning that one of its helicopters went down around 9 last night. Around that same time, 911 calls were coming in from people in the area who heard a helicopter and then a crash. The first emergency crews on the scene were deputies from the Thurston County Sheriff's Office, but they were unable to continue rescue efforts because the scene was engulfed in flames. Those deputies didn't have the kind of fire protection gear they needed. Special operations rescue crews from the county and JBLM have been on the scene, though, through the night, but just how many people were on board and their condition has not been released. We're also working to find out what kind of military helicopter went down, and as you can see, it's a heavily wooded area, also pretty mountainous around here, a lot of hilly areas and gullies where this chopper went down, probably complicating the rescue efforts as well. But not a lot of details coming out of JBLM. They did confirm early this morning, though, it was a helicopter from JBLM that went down around 9 o'clock last night.
All right. Well, we'll be watching for more answers and hopefully get some more information about this crew. Theron, thank you.
Yeah. That's an interesting story, isn't it? I kind of want to see, because I had seen something about the 4 soldiers were still missing that were aboard. How would that be? I mean, you know what I mean? How would they still be missing? Or are they just implying they couldn't find bodies? I don't know. It seems like... Let me see if I can pull something up real quick. Pull up an update. There's got to be an update by now. There we go. It's been a long day, Patriots. All right, let's see.
It's just absolute wreckage. You can't tell one thing from another. Everything's on fire, and it just looks like a wasteland.
It had just turned dark when Thurston County Sheriff says they started to get the calls of explosions coming from the woods.
Absolutely. It was very loud. Lights flickered, and then very shortly after that, we had all the police and sheriff coming through the driveway, and then we realized, okay, that was something.
Then neighbor Stephanie Mace smelled the smoke, which could still be seen today, along with what appeared to be a downed power line. The Army is calling it a mishap involving a Black Hawk helicopter and 4 service members assigned to the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. As investigators determine what happened and firefighters work to contain the fire, Stephanie Mace is more worried about the people.
And I think it's, easy to focus on, oh, this is exciting, something crashed and there's a fire. People tend to focus on that portion of it, but the real point of this is that there was at least 1 life lost, and that's tragic.
I can't imagine, and just hearing the reports on the radio, they can't get closer because their feet are physically unable to withstand the heat.
Sheriff Sanders says his deputies were first to get to the crash site, but quickly found there was nothing they could do.
That is a crash, unfortunately, that's not compatible with life.
Oh, we're coming back.
Yeah. So while the military at this point is only saying that 4 service members were involved, we have not heard any reports of any survivors or anyone being taken to any local hospitals. Just a year and a half ago, 2 JBLM soldiers were seriously injured when their Apache helicopter crashed on.
All right, well, I don't know. Didn't give us much more information there. Guess we'll have to wait and see who was on board. Oh, the opportunity to censure Ilhan Omar failed after 4 Republicans sided with Democrats. Go figure.
On this vote, the yeas are 214 and the nays are 213. The motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. That's it. All right.
Such a bummer, isn't it? And doesn't mean things are done for her, of course. Oops, different story. The Department of Justice charges 8 Somali criminals in $8 million Minnesota housing fraud scheme targeting Medicaid program. So she may be out of the woods today, but her people are in trouble. 4 different companies that frauded taxpayers in a housing stabilization scheme. Interesting stuff. This judge managed to get himself off the hook for shooting up his brother-in-law's house.
New concerns from the brother-in-law of a former Oklahoma judge.
He just pleaded guilty to shooting up the brother-in-law's home but he won't spend any time in prison for it. We've been following the case against former Garfield County Judge Brian Lovell for almost 2 years now. News 4's John Hayes tells us why the brother-in-law feels Lovell got special treatment.
You know, there are still clear signs here left behind from this years-old crime. You're seeing this bullet hole in a window, but still, after so long, mixed feelings about this finally being over.
So if you're a judge, you can do what you want, or is it just because they're brothers, it's okay? This feels like he got special treatment. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I don't know why the lights do that. It's just kind of where they sit. I'm going to have to figure that out one day. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem could be subpoenaed after she joined a blundering ICE raid in which 2 U.S. citizens were wrongfully detained. You saw her in Chicago the other day for the Blitz, and Blitz was kind of on her.
Secretary Kristi Noem sent out a tweet that reads in part, "I was on the ground in Chicago today to make it clear we are not backing down." That post on X also included video showing several people being led away in handcuffs. We have witness video that was taken after a person describes hearing an explosion around 5:50 this morning. You can see armed officers shining flashlights at a door and into a window as well. Another neighbor told us about the response from law enforcement that came from the air.
Awakened at 20 to 6 by the drone of the helicopter flying overhead, circling the house, circling the neighborhood, spotlight on.
I mean, how do you... Maybe it was a house where 2 illegals were supposed to be and they set her up. I don't know. I mean, how do you really make that mistake? I'm sure there's a good reason, but people aren't happy with the Blitz in Chicago.
Immigrant advocates say they are worried about the tactics that ICE is using during their operations. Today, volunteers canvassed the city's northwest side and also passed out Know Your Rights flyers to keep people informed. Immigrant advocates say they are concerned about the uptick in immigration enforcement they are seeing across the Chicagoland area.
It has been a heartbreaking week in the Northwest Side. On Tuesday, September 16th, 5 members of our community were detained as they traveled to work. And yesterday morning, Wednesday, September 17th, we experienced widespread ICE presence occupying our neighborhoods.
Were they violent criminals? They're only going after violent criminals, my friend. And there was a small update in the Delta State case where the student was found hanging on campus, but I don't know that there's much information.
And I pray, Father, over each and every family member, every friend.
I was in class and my mama had called me. She was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" She was like, "Oh, they just heard that a black male was killed on campus." And then a couple minutes after that, I got an email from the school saying, like, you know, they found the deceased person this morning.
And we just ask that you continue just to lift us up in your prayers. We thank you. And God bless each and every one of you.
Following the discovery of the deceased on the campus on Monday morning, his body has been transported to the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's office. The chief medical examiner began conducting a full autopsy this morning. Preliminary results are expected to be available within the next 24 to 48 hours.
While the preliminary report of the Bolivar County Coroner's Office indicates no evidence of foul play, we recognize that this is not only about facts. It's about emotions and it's about feelings. And the way this loss and how it was discovered affects people's lives.
As a community, as a black community, like, you know, everybody's upset right now. Like, they're just trying to downplay the situation, you know. Everybody's shooken up right now.
There's a lot of sadness around the country right now. There was also a shooting we talked about yesterday in Illinois that ended up taking the life of the assistant principal.
Well, as you can imagine, it's been a tough day for this community here at Lincoln Middle School. They've been gathering here outside all day long. You can see some kids there now just trying to come together and mourn the loss of the assistant principal, Narissa Lee. From what I've been told from all these students and families is Mrs. Lee was just a familiar face for these students, often welcoming them into her class and giving them the support that they needed at the time. Students and staff at Lincoln Middle School grieving together today after the loss of their assistant principal. Narissa Lee is seen here in a photo on the district's website, and she was one of 3 people found dead right in front of the school Tuesday in what police are calling a domestic violence shooting. It's a tragedy that has hit close to home for many families across this district.
I don't want what she did here as a teacher for the students and for the staff to go unnoticed, because she truly was a very kind person.
Anna Labis graduated from Lincoln Middle School a couple years ago and says Lee always took care of her students.
And she would give...
She must have heard the shooting out front and went straight out there. If she were armed, she might have been able to stop it. Just saying. It's an opinion. Sad situation, though, either way. And that was just here in Illinois. Donald Trump wants the U.S. military base that's in Afghanistan back from the Taliban.
Now to President Trump's major new statement involving the Taliban. The president earlier announcing that the U.S. is now trying to get back Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan.
We're going to leave Afghanistan, but we're going to leave it with strength and dignity. And we're going to keep Bagram, the big air base, that one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it to them for nothing. We're trying to get it back, by the way. Okay, that could be a little breaking news. We're trying to get it back because they need things from us. We want that base back. But one of the reasons we want the base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons.
Bagram Air Base is located just north of Kabul, and certainly you remember these scenes from the Kabul airport. People chasing down airplanes after President Biden was withdrawing U.S. troops in 2021.
Maybe we'll even get all that gear back they left behind. Thanks, Joe Biden. And the Pope, I think, might have forgotten that he's American. He says he's concerned about some things happening in the U.S. in the first major interview he's done since the election. And, for a man from Chicago, I don't know.
5 months on the job, and Pope Leo XIV sat down for his first interview. In talking with a Catholic magazine, the first American pope addressing many controversial issues, but says much of what he does draws on his roots, growing up in the Chicago area.
Even at home, I grew up a White Sox fan, but my mother was a Cubs fan, so you couldn't be one of those fans that shut out the other side. It was like we learned, even in sports, to have sort of an open, kind of a dialogical, friendly and not angry, competitive stance on things like that.
More of a lighthearted moment there, but he did address major topics like President Trump, LGBTQ plus issues, women in the church. Well, Vatican correspondent Colm Flynn is joining us now. It is always so good to see you.
Major issues, huh? They consider LGBTQ major issues. I call it a waste of time, a waste of questioning. Federal judges blocked the Trump administration from deporting the hundreds of children back to Guatemala. They've been fighting this fight for a week or so, at least now.
President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration is facing another legal challenge. A federal judge is temporarily blocking flights, sending hundreds of Guatemalan children back to their home country. William Lajeunesse is live in L.A. He's got this story for us. Hi, William. Good morning.
Good morning, Dana. This is a Biden-appointed judge who turned around one plane already in the air and several others on the tarmac to stop some 600 children from being reunited with parents in Guatemala. So there are two different versions of what happened. So the National Immigration Law Center claims these kids who crossed the border illegally as unaccompanied children are being deported illegally, arguing each one as young as 5 years old deserve to remain in the U.S., saying,
"You can call it deportation all you want. Trump's trying to send these children back to their irresponsible parents who sent them up here, God knows how. I mean, what do you think they should do with them? They need to be with their parents. I don't know. It's a tough situation. It never should have happened. Either way, they're talking about the children still missing today, and it's kind of interesting.
A Senate hearing highlighting the dangers of unaccompanied children at the border. 4 people now charged in a very disturbing case, accused of pretending to be parents and sedating children with marijuana gummies. Brooke Taylor is following this bizarre story. She's in Dallas for us. Brooke?
Hi, John. Yeah, we have reported countless times on the hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied children who crossed the border during the Biden administration, and then they were released to unvetted sponsors. Well, in this case, the smugglers went right through the Border Patrol checkpoints, pretended to be the parents, and also sedated the children. 2 U.S. citizens here and 2 Mexican nationals who are still wanted are charged right now in this smuggling scheme. Officials say that they smuggled children as young as 5 to 13 years old from Juarez, Mexico into the U.S. between May 2024 and October 2024. Pictures from court documents show the suspects at Border Patrol checkpoints posing as the children's parents by showing fake U.S. documents. The smugglers are accused of using gummies laced with marijuana to sedate these children, and in at least one case, a child was sent to the hospital.
We've seen everything from Benadryl to now these gummies being used to be able to sedate the children. And that way they're less likely to answer questions.
That's just one of the cases from all these sponsors that took children from the border. Don't forget about the one guy that took like thousands of kids. This is one case, and those 4 people are still wanted for drugging these kids. That's the kind of stuff that's been going on. Department of Homeland Security did announce that 2 million illegal aliens have left the United States in less than 250 days. So there's that. That's significant numbers. This kid deserved to make the news. He ran with the American flag during his cross-country race in honor of Charlie Kirk and 9/11 victims.
Take a look at this. A middle school cross-country runner going viral after pausing for a moment of silence at the starting line of his race over the weekend to honor Charlie Kirk and the victims of 9/11. He then ran the entire race while carrying an American flag in a display of hope and unity. That cross-country runner at Central Middle School, Brandon Duscher, and his father, Scott, join me now. Good morning to you both. You know, Brandon, this video is going viral for a reason. There's something just so beautiful and really emotional about what you did. So tell us why you decided to do this.
Okay. Well, I've been carrying this flag since I was in elementary school. And I think through everything that's happened over the span of last week with Charlie Kirk and all of the veterans, or not veterans, all of the people who died on 9/11, I just thought it was the best time to show it to the world.
That's so amazing. Yeah, you carry this flag in your backpack, I understand. And Scott, that's something that you didn't even know that your son did, that he was carrying this flag in his backpack to and from school for years now. So what was your reaction, Scott, when your son, your 13-year-old, told you he wants to pause for 30 seconds at the starting line, essentially give up any chance of winning this race to honor both Charlie Kirk and the victims of 9/11 in his young love for this country?
It wasn't really a shock to me and his mom. We're both unbelievably proud of who he is, but we know this kid. We've been his parents for 13 years, and not many things does he do shock us or surprise us, just because he's constantly doing the right thing. And when you know and you can trust that your young son is going to do the right thing every time, you don't really get shocked or surprised by much, because you just expect the right thing from him.
I'd be a pretty proud parent, I'd say. It's pretty cool move from a kid, and sometimes you got to look at it from their perspective, which sometimes makes more sense than what we know to be or think we know to be. Senate Republicans are pushing the Charlie Kirk Act to stop government-funded propaganda. You kind of know about that already, so... And, of course, they're not reporting on it, so there's that. South Carolina fires its election chief as state deals with Trump administration request for voter data. And Trump has requested voter data from, I think, about 19 different states now.
Now on Friends at 5, we are following breaking news updates just into our newsroom. Howard Knapp, the executive director of the South Carolina State Election Commission, has now been fired. Again, this is a breaking news update. The commission confirming it voted today to go ahead and remove him, citing a desire for new leadership. Now, leaders say this decision is not related to the conduct of any elections in our state. Knapp, though, had that position since back in 2022. Chief of Staff Jenny Wooten has now been named interim executive director effective immediately. Again, this update just now coming into our newsroom. We will be sure to share any updates, though, online and on air right here on News 19.
Yeah, South Carolina, it's only one. We'll see how that progresses. These states are going to feel the pressure, you know. It's really about each state, and that's what I was saying earlier about why you have to start taking a stance on what's going on in your own state. Each of you live in different states. You got to pay attention to the politics of your state very deeply. You have a right to. You have a right to say what you're thinking and feeling about it and argue those cases. The Charlie Kirks of your communities. Portland's issuing a land use violation notice to an ICE building for allegedly breaching detention limits. Yeah, we'll see.
The city of Portland announced that it will issue a violation notice to the ICE facility in South Portland. And it's all due to what the city says are violations of detention conditions at the facility.
And this follows an exclusive report from Fox 12's investigative team that aired at the beginning of July. ICE has told us repeatedly that the facility on Macadam Avenue in South Portland is not a detention center, but the facility operates under a conditional use permit issued in 2011 that designates the property as a detention facility and allows for 4 holding cells. That same permit states that no detainee can be held for longer than 12 hours or overnight in the facility. Our investigation discovered at least 25 instances where people were held for longer than 12 hours. In one case, data shows that a person was held for 47 days. That's what the city found as well. And tomorrow, they're sending a land use violation notice to the ICE facility. We asked ICE for a response and are waiting to hear back. Here is what Mayor Wilson had to say today.
I don't know. What do you do? That's Portland. Trump put this up today. I'm pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I'm designating Antifa sick and dangerous. This is actually yesterday. Radical left disaster is a major terrorist organization. Strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. And whoever's funding Antifa, we're going to learn about that pretty soon. It's going to be interesting. Vincent Kennedy pointed this out, that he died at 12:23 p.m. local time. Not a big Bible reader, but this stuck in his head. The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Just thought they were interesting posts. A lot of interesting posts like this one. Captain of the Guard of Honor in the United Kingdom, Lieutenant Colonel Storm Green. Is that a comm? Captain Kyle thinks so. What do you guys think? Storm Green. Green mean go? We'll see. And Attorney General Ken Paxton announces arrest in Starr County for illegal ballot harvesting scheme. So you can see the election frauds coming out everywhere. And did they not tell you it was going to happen? Pete Hegseth may wiggle his way off the hook as probe into military chief's signal chats reach final stage. What's interesting about this is at the bottom. Sparked outrage and confusion within the nerve center of U.S. military headquarters, with some officials convinced the Secretary of War had crossed the legal line by using the encrypted app Signal to discuss military operations. At least they're telling you, military operations, being pretty clear about it. This from the White House. They posted, the king and Trump, but they put 2 crowns up, That was yesterday. And this from today, it came out today. Melania looking like she's attending a funeral, people said. I thought it was kind of funny. His wife really does look like Joe Biden, doesn't she? And I didn't understand this one. Left name card, the king. Right name card, the president of the United States of America. That's a king chess piece. It means checkmate. I didn't quite understand it, but I thought I'd share it. And then from Dan Scavino, talking about the Golden Age, the Jubilee. The Copper Horse statue, a.k.a. King George III, the Golden Jubilee. The Jubilee is happening. Pretty interesting. We knew about that. George III celebrated that on October 25th. We'll see what happens at the end of October. Some say that will be when you see some public arrests. They also pointed this out. The chair he was sitting in said 1867 to 2017. People asked, did the real Charles actually die in 2017? I don't know. No idea. No idea what it means. But I'm showing you. Wanted to show you. And this from 107's page. Anyone see Melania in yellow at the dinner today in the UK? Wowzer. Navy signal flag is 17 equals Q, which equals yellow. Melania is the flag staff for the Trump admin. Supreme Court ruling, hardly anyone noticed that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. won the case against all the pharmaceutical lobbyists. In the ruling, the Supreme Court confirms that the damage caused by the COVID mRNA gene therapies is irreparable, as the Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States there, and no further appeals, and the appeals have been exhausted. Nuremberg Code is now valid. I don't know what that necessary is implicating either, but... This is an old Charlie Kirk post somebody came across. An international pedophile ring spanning the globe has been exposed, already resulting in nearly 100 arrests in the U.S. and Australia alone. The probe was launched after 2 FBI agents were tragically killed, which led to unraveling of this evil ring of child abusers. I don't remember that. Back in 2023, my memory just doesn't want to reach that far. There was gunfire reported at the home of Illinois Democratic State Senator Megan Loughran Capel, with the suspect detained in that shooting today.
Also breaking tonight, 2 homes in Shorewood hit by bullets. One of those homes belongs to an Illinois state senator.
Minutes ago, Shorewood police sent us this photo of the suspect. Police say they arrested and charged 32-year-old Dana Thompson from Hammond with aggravated discharge of a firearm. Police say she was targeting a relative in the area. Sabrina Franza spoke with the lawmaker whose home was hit.
Neighbors in Shorewood woke to the sound of gunshots Tuesday morning.
We were just shooting at Grandma's house. I didn't know it was the state senator that lived right next door. I have bad aim, I promise. Well, I imagine that lady's in deep shit. Why is so much happening in Illinois, of all places? It's supposed to be boring here, right? Land of Abraham Lincoln, cornfields. All right, moving forward to shore up all this crap. How you hanging in there, Patriots? You saw this in the intro, of course. Hong Chow, a legal refugee from South Vietnam, is our next Undersecretary of the Navy, showing you that America is the land of opportunity. And, of course, Erica Kirk was named the new CEO of the chair of Turning Point USA. Some people, I guess, thought that Shapiro was going to get it. I didn't see that coming. Well deserved, if you ask me. Although this was an interesting post. On November 18th of 1990, the 101st Congress quietly repealed the McCarran-Walter Act of 1952, forbidding Muslims from holding office. Members of that Congress were Joe Biden, Dick Cheney, Al Gore, John Kerry, John McCain, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer. Why would they want Muslims to be able to hold office in America? Little things that people overlook. That I just put up for fun. Charles putting a crown on Trump. Getting ahead of myself. I seen this post. I don't know. It says, Raging Trump declared that Netanyahu is effing me after Israel carried out the Qatar attack. I'm very frustrated by his handling of Gaza. Hard to know if stuff like that's true or not. Top U.S. regulator on Thursday sued Ticketmaster and its parent company, Live Nation, alleging the ticketing giant conspired with brokers to inflate concert ticket prices and deceived consumers with hidden fees. It's not the first time Ticketmaster's been in the spotlight.
Well, the Federal Trade Commission is suing Ticketmaster and Live Nation over alleged illegal ticket resale tactics. Now, the companies have been under fire since 2022. I'm betting you remember this, when ticket sales for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour crashed its site. The FTC says Ticketmaster took part in illegal business practices that led to customers paying significantly more than the face value of a ticket. And alleges as well the companies coordinated with ticket brokers to profit off resale tickets.
That's because the problem is if you want to play a concert at that place, they're only going to sell tickets through Ticketmaster. And when Pearl Jam went through that, they just ended up playing in tents because they couldn't play anywhere else. Not unless you wanted to pay for a Ticketmaster ticket. Back to Illinois today. Illinois Democrat Senator Karina Villa is running around chasing ICE agents, screaming bloody murder, telling people to stay in their homes and lock their doors. Should be interesting.
I'm sorry, guys. Delete that. If you have kids watching, I apologize. They're over here. They're over here.
She should be locked up.
This is my city, that's right! Take off your mask! Pussies! Take off your mask! Fucking bitches. What? What?
That's an elected official right there. She should have been arrested. They need to hold these people responsible. In Utah, a man was arrested for a threat against Utah University where Charlie Kirk was killed. This was earlier today.
Police have arrested a suspect accused of making a terrorism threat against Utah Valley University, where Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk was killed. It happened on the same day the accused shooter, Tyler Robinson, was charged. Students just resumed classes yesterday in the wake of Kirk's death. CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman joins me now from New York City. So, Katrina, what do we know about this latest arrest?
So this is a 20-year-old student from Pennsylvania who recently came to Utah. He was staying with family in Park City, and his name is Blake Rogers. The local authorities there got a tip from the FBI that on Monday evening, a video had been posted. They said that there were clear threats in that video and that Utah Valley University had been mentioned. Now, what he actually said was, "I'm now beginning my odyssey to Utah Valley University to fulfill my lifelong duty of finally killing woke. If you're receiving this video, it means that I did not make it back on this trip and I was defeated by my mortal enemy."
Yeah, that's probably a little bit far. Probably a little bit of a stretch there. Let's look at some of my WTF videos today, starting with this one.
I have the best news ever.
What? Donald Trump died?
Second best news.
The vice president died?
Okay, third best news.
That Elon Musk died?
Okay, no. Nobody died. My best friend's getting married.
I mean, how sick is that? Your little girls are laughing. Donald Trump died? J.D. Vance died? The best news ever? People that bring their parents or their kids, into politics should have their ass kicked. Kids should be out having fun, not thinking about this bullshit. It's just like the trans stuff at schools. Should have their asses kicked for it. All right, WTF number 2.
Switch the initial screen.
It just started. If you're seeing this, I'm probably dead.
Hey, good to see you, man. Hey, who's that? 11? We're denying it. Deny it.
That's a very young Charlie Kirk from 2011. So, I think he was like 17 here. And he says, if you're watching this, it's because I've died.
Switch the initial screen.
It just started. If you're seeing this, I'm probably dead.
Hey, good to see you, man.
If you're seeing this, I'm probably dead. I know he's probably joking there, but it's pretty wild, huh? And number 3.
This is a craft of alien origin, and the implications, obviously, for humanity would be profound. A fast-moving object the size of Manhattan is hurtling towards our solar system, and it will make its closest pass to Earth on December 17th. Comet, asteroid, or something else? Avi Loeb, professor at Harvard, joins me now. Great to see you. Thank you. And I've been reading with interest what you're putting out there. It's very provocative.
Well, I don't know where this comes from. It came up today and it made me say, what the fuck? So that's why it's WTF number 3. You want to listen to it for a second? It seems kind of hogwashy.
Science is fun as long as you allow yourself to learn something new. And the problem with experts is that they insist on past knowledge that they promoted in echo chambers. And obviously anything in the sky, they argue, is a comet. But we should be open-minded because, if we have a visitor from the cosmic street to our backyard, it may not be a rock. It could be a tennis ball thrown by a neighbor. So let's look at the data.
That is a very interesting analogy. All right, Dr. Love.
The ball is in Trump's court. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, but if you guys want to, you can. And one last news video here. They showed this from King Charles. It looked like a Q on his gown. I don't know. What do you think? Q or something else? All right. Moving on. That wraps up our news for now. Well, actually, technically, a couple things I want to go over real fast. Things that should have made the news and sort of made the news. They just didn't make the news. Like the Charlie Kirk Act.
While serving
I mentioned
a warrant
that.
on a domestic-related investigation.
This was surprising. Let me see if I can share my screen so you can see what I'm seeing here. Released Israeli hostage. Netanyahu gave the order to bomb the hostages. Ilana Grituski, who was released in November 2023, denounced the Israeli government's decision to expand the fighting in Gaza and called on the Israeli public to join the hostage families in their continuous protests in Jerusalem to saying it's hard for me that the prime minister gave the order to bomb the hostages. I know what the hostages are going through in Gaza, that with every plane that passes, you need to take cover. I also had to take cover to hide so as not to be hit by building fragments. The prime minister gave an order that could kill both hostages and soldiers. So it's just interesting. They don't seem very happy there with Israel. The NRCC adds 3 newly redrawn Texas seats to its 2026 target list. The National Republican Congressional Committee, they're really going all out in Texas. Excited about that. Donald Trump's Marine One had some issues today. He had to make an emergency landing. A minor hydraulic problem forced President Trump's helicopter to make an unscheduled landing in Britain before his departure for the United States. So there's that. Rudy Giuliani's ordered to pay is $1.36 million in legal bills. That one's kind of old. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson vows to eradicate law enforcement. You can see he's gone a little nutty. Texas governor signs a bill cracking down on mail-order abortion pills. Sounds like a good thing to crack down on. U.S. imposes new sanctions on Sinaloa cartel and associates, including Mexican lawmaker. These are the stories that don't make the news. The U.S. on Thursday sanctioned a powerful faction of the Sinaloa cartel and its alleged associates, including a ruling party federal lawmaker, as the U.S. ramps up pressure on Mexican crime groups and allegedly corrupt politicians. Yeah, gotta stop them. And Las Vegas casinos threatened for honoring Charlie Kirk. 26-year-old faces charges. Man is accused of threatening employees at a Las Vegas casino, including its CEO, after it honored slain conservative activist Charlie Kirk. And that is the news today. Don't think anything else came up. Hopefully not. Been too much news today. All right. Let's see what's on the agenda tonight. I gotta admit, there's not much out there, so if you guys are in the chat and want to make some recommendations on what to watch, I would love to hear them. In the meantime, we're going to watch this message from Juan.